Hello everybody.
Good evening.
I am, actually I'm on site right now. Like I had mentioned prior to, I put a Facebook video, or let me introduce myself. First off, my name is Dawn Block. I'm with Century 21 First Class Homes, and I am doing a Facebook Q&A live with Mike Davison. He is the general manager of Platt Nursery over here in Bloomingdale, Illinois. So I know, and the reason I say Illinois is because I might have some people who are out of state. I'd say probably about a week ago, I had put out a question about, it is fall, so the fall season has hit, and I wanted to do this Q&A to preparing your gardens, your yards, your lawns, and getting ready for the fall season, and what you need to do that. So Mike was very nice and gracious to give some more time from his busy schedule to do this Q&A session with us. What else was I going to say? We're going to just give it a couple more minutes before, just to see if anybody else pops on. I know it's a little bit earlier than my 6 o'clock hour. I usually do this at 6, but I'm doing it a little bit earlier. So, what time do you have, Mike?
I have almost 5 o'clock.
Almost 5 o'clock. Okay. So, again, my name is Dawn Block. I do these Q&As. Try to do them every month. I'm doing this one off-site because generally I'll do them in my office. And again, we're at the Platt Nursery here in Bloomingdale, Illinois, and I'm here with the general manager, Mike Davison, who has been so gracious to give us his time. What I will be doing is after this Facebook Live, I will be posting this on my business page so that if you see this and you want to go back and review it again or watch it again, you'll be able to do that on my Facebook Live. I will also put it on my YouTube channel and post it somewhere so you can go to different avenues to review this again. So why don't we start, because it's probably 5 o'clock.
Yep, my watch beat.
Great. My name is Dawn Block. I'm with Century 21. I am here again at the Platt Nursery in Bloomingdale, Illinois, with my guest, who will be doing the Q&A, that I will be doing the Q&A session with. This is Mike Davison. He is the general manager of Platt Nursery. So, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know it's towards the end of your day, and you'd probably rather be home, but I'm glad you're with us right now. That's great. That's great. So, Mike, I would like you to give us a little bit about your background, your name of the company, years working, all that good stuff, and how we can contact you.
Sure. Okay, well, again, we're Platt Nursery in Bloomingdale. We also have a sister store out in Carpentersville for any of your customers who may be a little bit farther north and west than we are.
Is that on Randall Road?
Randall and Huntley, correct. So you can't miss it there. It's on 20 acres. We're here on 5 to 6 acres. We are going on our 40th anniversary next year. So tried and true. Platt is the owner's name, and he is going to be retiring, but his sons are coming in and continuing going on. Make it bigger and better, hopefully.
All right, great.
I've been here 25 years, so
been
here a while. Thank you. We're going on 25 years, quarter of a century.
Yes.
Every year we're trying to do a little bit better, and we are a unique nursery in that we grow our own products here. Not everything, but we grow a lot, so we aren't just a buy it in and clearance it out at the end of the season.
Oh, that's good to know. What is your location, your address?
Okay, so we are at 222 West Lake Street. We are basically about 3.5 miles west of 355 290. So it's an easy on and off, just down the road from there. And just down the street from 355 290.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we were out here, actually, we were talking about that, and we said I was out here in May.
Yes.
Okay, and that was for the springtime. We were getting ready, what we need to do to get our gardens ready, flowers. You actually kind of talked about shade plants and what are sun plants, and that was a lot of information, and now we're into the fall. I'm not too happy about it becoming colder weather, but what are you going to do about it? So We're going to do some questions that came in. Like I said, I put out a question about, I'd say, a week ago, and I got a great response, and I want to thank everybody who participated and sent me their questions. So our first question this evening is how important is it to cut back the lilies and irises?
Okay, so two different birds on that when we're talking lilies and iris. If we're talking lilies, like oriental lilies, those are going to die down to the ground, just like the daylilies.
Oh.
So usually you can take those and just cut those down to a few inches, and you'll be fine once they start turning a little bit yellow. Irises are a little bit different. On the irises, usually want to cut them down a little bit also, but we want to cut them to a point. So we're going to cut all that foliage off and just leave a little inverted V. So it's going to be about this high. So about 2, 3, 4 inches.
Okay.
And get rid of everything else.
All right.
Other than that, iris, every 3 years you really should dig them out and divide them, because the way irises grow is they grow out. So every rhizome only blooms once in its lifetime.
Oh, okay.
So everything on the outer ring of your iris bed, if you have a lot of bearded iris I'm mainly referring to, you want to dig those out, save all the outsides. Everything else really can go away into a compost. You can give some of those away to some people, but they won't bloom until they send out new shoots the following year.
Okay.
And then you also, another reason is iris borer is a horrible problem with the irises. So if you leave a patch for too long, you attract their attention. They come and lay eggs, and their little baby caterpillars will eat all your rhizomes.
Oh, okay.
So good to do that every 3 years.
All right, good to know. Our next question is it important to cut back hydrangeas and cover them for the winter?
Okay, this is another one that's got a few things to it. So there's multiple different types of hydrangeas. The ones that I would do that to are the macrophylla varieties, which are sometimes the ones that will turn pink to blue depending on the soil temperature or soil pH. So we want to usually protect those for winter so we get good flowering on them. I wouldn't cut them back too much. We do, probably about 6 to 12 inches. And then I would maybe dump some mulch over the center, just pile it into a nice cone over them. In the spring, you can spread that mulch around and see what happens.
Okay.
The other types of hydrangeas, like the Annabelles, the big ball ones you see that are big white mounds, or some of the ones that start out pink and start out white and turn to pink, that kind of have a cone shape. You leave those alone. I leave the flowers up over the winter for some interest. And then you just, on the cone ones, you just lightly prune them back to remove the flowers. And on the Annabelle type, you want to cut them to about, again, 6 to 12 inches in the spring.
All right.
So not too much work.
All right. I have a question. Oh, you know what? Okay, Janet, Mom, you need to go to my personal page, the Dawn Block. I have this on my personal page so everybody could see it. So I'm hoping that'll help you out. I will be posting it on my business page after we get done. So I'm hoping that helps you out. On my next question is, I have a Rose of Sharon that was once full of flowers and very full.
Yes.
This year in the spring, we lost half the bush.
Yes.
And we actually had to cut back, because it's my question, so I'm just going to go with it. We had to cut back half the tree, and actually, this bush was full. And
Correct.
We literally only have 2 branches sticking up out of the ground. That actually started to, during the spring, they did start to get growth on it. But and now what I'm seeing is that there was a separate branch that came out of the ground, so that one is doing okay.
Okay.
And the branch I left there that I thought was doing okay is now the leaves are starting to die off.
Okay. So again, we were talking about this before we went live. This wonderful thing we call the polar vortex happened to a lot of plants where it went so cold for a short time, did a lot of damage to some plants. Our Rose of Sharon out front also got nipped, and we literally had to cut it halfway back. Thankfully, ours is grown back up, and I'm going to say it's probably about 3.5 to 4 feet tall, and it's blooming.
Okay.
Some people didn't have that good of a response, so if you have anything left, I would recommend pruning it a lot. And when I say prune, it just means cut the tops off.
Okay.
And do that a few times till July 4th, and then see what you have left, because you will keep making the plant fuller and fuller every time you prune it.
Yes.
Which gives you more branches, which gives you more flowers.
The interesting thing about that is that my does one color of a bush do better than another color? Because my white, I have a purple one and then I have a white one. My white one, we did what you said. It was starting to grow from the bottom.
Yeah.
So what we did was what you said. We chopped off the top of it, and now it came back. It's fuller than it's ever been.
Okay, which is a good reason to prune your bushes.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't prune things, they get tall and then a little bit spindly. If you grow so much and prune, let it grow some more and prune, you have a nice thick twig. Hardiness on colors, I'm not going to say one's hardier than another, but it could have been location. Again, if it had a little more protection for some reason, from another tree, from a house, from so much damage that it got, could have been that.
Okay.
Because like I said, I have had people tell me that certain plants got nailed from that polar vortex, and some other same plants in the yard, different area, did not get hit so bad. So keep pruning, keep it thick and full, feed it.
Now,
they like to eat.
Feed it?
Any all-purpose fertilizer is fine.
All right.
Any all-purpose fertilizer. The key is doing that.
Yeah, I know. And how frequently do you?
Well, if it was really bad, like some of the boxwood problems we had this spring, I was recommending every 2 weeks with like a really heavy high nitrogen, and just keep feeding it. And you want to give it optimal growth to get that growth as fast as you can get it, so that you can get it growing better this year, so you get something better for next year.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to make note of that. I'll probably be playing this back again just so I can write all this down. How do you keep squirrels from getting your bulbs?
Okay, so I've got a product here, and there's a few different options. Okay, so this is called Repels All, and Repels All meaning it should keep all things away from it.
Okay.
So it works 3 ways. It smells bad, tastes bad, and burns their mucous membranes.
Oh, wow.
So if you sprinkle it around your bulbs after you plant them, as they start approaching it, it should start bothering them, and they should work away from where you did this. A good way to do it is to also water right after you're done planting. The squirrels see where there's disturbed ground and think there's stuff there for them. So if you can get stuff in and water it real good, maybe put some mulch over it, they're less likely. You could get some chicken wire or some heavier mesh cloth, lay it down and maybe stake it down for a while. You can always take that off.
Come up?
Yeah, well, no, I would just put it down for a while till the ground gets a little bit cold.
Okay.
Then take it off because they're not going to come up through that.
Okay.
It's just to deter them while they're digging and trying to plant stuff this fall. You got to break them of that habit. So that works well for that.
And they're everywhere lately. I mean, everywhere you
Oh
go,
yeah. They're busy and they're working to try and put food away for the winter. So they're doing their hibernation early thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good information. I said the next question is there anything to treat roses with so they don't have a mosaic virus?
Yeah.
Next year, what is first off, what's a mosaic virus?
Okay. So a virus is a virus. Plants can get it. If you get a disease, if you get a virus, you really need to get rid of that plant. So
really?
it's infected. There is no cure for a virus on the roses. So once you get that, rip it out, get it in the garbage, get it out of the yard.
So because in her question she said once it's infected that it's always infected.
Yes, correct. So as soon as you get a virus, and it's usually in the leaf, you get yellow veining, and it's pretty clear if you get it what it is. We know what it is by sight, and it's transmitted from another virus plant, from a bug who takes a bite out of a virus plant, comes and take a bite out of your plant, that get exchanged in with the plant, and it's that little amount of bug swapping from one plant to another that will cause the problem.
So there's no saving it.
There's no saving it.
Just
we call it roguing it out. Get rid of it. Throw it away. Put it in the garbage. Don't compost it. Get it out of the yard.
Oh, really? Get it out?
Just get it out.
Okay.
Yes. Bag it, double bag it, and get it in the garbage.
When is the best time to plant a spruce tree?
Okay, spruces for the most part can go in any time of the year. Fall is good. It's just the larger a root ball of a plant, we don't want to go too late into the season. But for the most part, now fall is a great time to plant. The cooler weather, we get rain coming back again. It doesn't have the heat stress of the summer, and even though up here's cooler, the ground's still warm, so the plant is still busy rooting in. Even some of the deciduous trees, once they drop their foliage, if you plant it now, it's still rooting in all winter long.
Do you have to, continuously water the plant?
No. That's the nice thing. You get it in, you get it watered. We're still getting rains, and unless we don't get rain for an unusual period of time, which doesn't usually happen in the fall, the plant's just kind of sitting there doing its thing, rooting in, and you don't have to do a lot of maintenance to it.
That's good. That's what I like.
Yeah,
No
right.
maintenance.
Right.
No
So
maintenance.
fall is a really good time to plant plants.
What do you recommend doing to my lawn in the fall to protect it from the harsh winter?
Okay, your lawns should be perfectly winter hardy, so there's not a lot you should have to do. You do want to fertilize. You can still get one more fertilizer in. I like a natural fertilizer, so we use something called Milorganite. It's a product we carry. Yes, that is, and I don't know if I can get that up here. I'll try.
Come on, let's pick up the
So Milorganite is what I've been using for 25 years or more in my lawn. It's all I use. I don't use that heavy Scott stuff with all the heavy nitrogen and stuff. So
Is that safe for pets?
it's safe for pets. The only thing with the pooches is they like to nibble on it. So I put it out, I water it,
Okay.
then I let the pooch out because I don't want them eating it.
Okay.
But it's all natural. It's got extra iron in it, so it greens your lawn up really good. So it's Milwaukee's best.
Okay.
So
Now, how many times do you have to do that? Do you do
I
it
usually
once?
do. Usually on the fertilizer. I don't care what fertilizer. I do follow the big boys steps. So most of them have 4 steps. So I usually do a spring, a summer, and a fall.
Oh,
And you
okay.
do want to apply a fall fertilizer because that will get into the plant and they'll actually store that extra food in the fall. Back in the day we used to do a lower nitrogen, but now we do a little bit more nitrogen
Okay.
because the plant will store that and use that. So it is good to feed your plant, your grass or plants too. Feed your stuff in the fall. For the most part, most of the plants we don't want to do. So I kind of reverse that. Trees and shrubs and perennials are going to sleep right now. They're getting ready to go to sleep. So we don't want to feed those guys.
Okay.
Your lawn is your one exception. You do want to feed your lawn.
All right.
Again,
That's good
now
to
is
know.
fine. I wouldn't do it in November.
Okay. All right. What should I do to get my garden ready for the fall?
Okay, so we're talking garden. You want to wait till plants start turning yellow. You can prune them down, usually perennials, to a few inches. Trees and shrubs, most of the stuff you can prune in the spring. I wouldn't do it in the fall. Roses, leave them alone till the spring. So other than cleaning up leaves dropped, especially if you got diseases this year because of all the rain we had later in the season, diseases started popping up. Get those leaves again into something and out of your yard so you're not overwintering that stuff.
Okay.
Most diseases blow in on the wind, so let's not encourage it by keeping that stuff around.
So you're saying bag them up and
Bag
get
them up and get them out. Yep, get them out. Other than that, there's not a lot of fall work you should have to do.
So just keep picking up those leaves.
Yep,
is
rake
pretty
those
much
leaves
what
once a
you're
week
saying,
and get them in your
yeah.
bags and get them out.
So the next is, okay, so I have a magnolia bush.
Yep.
And the person put a picture here.
Yep.
I have a magnolia bush. The leaves got a black, like tar color on them. And there's a lot of bees, and
Yep.
there were a lot of flies
Yep.
flying around them. And then there's a picture here, actually on the branch of the magnolia bush, there's a
White,
cocoon. It's like a
nasty
white
looking
cocoon,
things, yes.
yeah. And it was spreading actually throughout the whole tree. And what is it? Why is it doing that? And will the bush come back?
Okay. So my first question would be to the person is, why didn't you come to me when it started? Because we're in October now.
Right.
It is a bug. So those white things that you say look like cocoons, which they do, are actually a large insect. They're very gross.
Oh, okay.
It's called scale, Magnolia Scale, and we see it every year. This year has been a little bit worse than in the past. And actually, the black stuff is actually their waste product that drops onto the leaves, and then a fungus, which is what the black stuff is, grows on top of that. So it's basically a plant is sugars, so they're sucking the juices, and so they're releasing the waste. And the flies and bees are coming in and eating that because it's a sugary that's being sucked out of the plant. And so the black is a fungus, the little white guys are bugs, and you're encouraging the other guys to come and eat while you have it. So a couple products again. This is a natural product. It's just a mineral oil specifically made for plants.
Okay.
And you could spray your whole plant now. It should kill all the bugs. It should kill the fungus, and it just, your leaves are going to drop at this point. So
Where do you just spray the
You
tree?
spray everything, top to bottom.
Top.
The way oils work is they cover and smother. So bugs breathe through their bodies. So when you cover it with oil, you kill the bug from suffocation.
Okay,
basically.
so it's called All Seasons Horticultural Dormant Spray Oil.
Okay, so you can do this now. I also have something I'll show you afterwards. Now, again, the foliage is going to drop eventually. It is starving out the plant because it's covering it up so it can't photosynthesize. So we do not want that to happen. It's basically, starving the plant a little bit. So I would do this again in March before the plant leaves out and spray it again in case you missed anything, because there could be egg cases around or some other critters that you didn't get with the first spray. Or you could just spray it twice now, hit it again in March.
Okay.
There is one other option you can do for this, which a lot of people do now, is the bare tree and shrub systemic.
Okay.
This you apply once. You can do it in the fall or you can do it in the spring. You mix it up in a bucket of water. You pour the bucket with the chemical around the trunk of the trees.
Okay.
And it gets in there. The roots take it up and move it through the plant, and it's good for the year.
Which one do you think would be better to use?
This is going to be a quick fix to get rid of them now. And if you do this now and you do it again in March, you most likely will not have the problem again.
All right, and then are you saying that this would be done how many? If you use
This is done once if you want to do it in the spring to protect you for next year.
Okay.
You could do it in the spring as the foliage just starts leafing out.
Okay. All right.
So you can pick or choose. If you just want to do the spraying, a lot of people use the systemic because if they have a huge tree, they don't feel they can get good coverage and cover
Right.
everything. So if you spray a portion of the tree, kill those, but you don't kill the other ones, they're going to be around next year. Yep.
Okay.
So that's why I say the March spray could be good too, because then you don't have all the leaves to stop the oil from doing its job,
Okay.
which is to cover and smother.
Wow. So can that actually kill the?
If you,
Plant,
it
kill
would
the-
eventually. It would take a while, but again, if you get the black sooty mold
Yeah.
growing on it, stopping the leaves from producing food, and the bugs are sucking the juices, which is weakening the plant,
eventually
you're going to eventually weaken it to the point it's going to die.
Okay.
So in the long term, it could. So, and they're visually very gross because they're like
They
this
are gross
big.
because it's my tree that I was
Oh, it's
talking
your tree
about.
too. Well, yeah,
Totally
it's gross. It's gross.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're nasty.
Okay, well that's good to know. Thank
Yeah.
you. In front of the yard. Okay, this is in front of the yard. There's some grass there's dead spots.
Okay. Yes.
And what can it be? What should I do to take care of it?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the viewer put pictures on.
Which is very helpful.
Yeah,
We like
pictures
pictures
of
to
it,
help
yeah.
identify problems.
So there's, and I don't know if you could see it, but there are. Well, you can see it. As you can see, there's some dead spots all over in this patch that the picture was taken. So, what is that?
Okay, so my mind immediately went one way, which I'm going to go with one way, and there could be another way, which I don't think the problem is because
Okay.
it would be different. I'll go the second way first. It could be grubs, but that's not really grub damage.
Don't grubs because is it raccoons come by and kind of
Yeah, well,
rip
what
up?
happens is the grubs are down there, which the eggs have been laid, they're hatched, they're eating,
Right.
they eat the roots of your grass, so you'll start having some dead spots.
Right.
What happens secondarily is you'll get the skunks and the raccoons coming in looking for a snack, and those grubs are a really good snack for them, especially now because they're trying to, again, build up for hibernation in winter,
Right.
so that little grub is a good snack for them. They rip that up because they know they're there, and they eat it, so they tear up the lawn. Again, that's secondary.
Now, we've
It's the
had
grubs
that.
is a
We've
problem.
had the grubs where it's like
so,
all ripped
right,
up and
but
torn.
that is not grub damage.
That's not.
That is a fungal problem. It's a disease. Exactly what it is, I don't know from the pictures. But what happens is, one, if you have a sprinkler system, and two, we do heavy rains, which we had a few weeks ago. They started coming back and raining a lot. You will get a fungal problem from all the moisture. Okay, you watering on top of that, all that rain will just add
Make it
to
bigger.
possible problems and make it bigger. So when you have a problem like that, I like to use a nice simple fungicide. We have one called Infuse by Bonide, and it's an all-purpose, and it's also nice because it's got some systemic, meaning it hangs around for a little bit, so you don't have to apply it every week. So usually I tell people is hook this up, spray the area, and go a little bit around the area.
Okay.
Even stick a stick in there, like a
So you know
popsicle,
where
so you
it's
know where
at.
it's at. Make sure it hasn't spread, and if it hasn't spread, you could probably put this away for the year, save it for next year, and as soon as you start seeing that problem, just treat the small spots so it
Okay.
doesn't grow.
So is that done once?
Usually you can apply this once and you're good.
And you're good. Okay.
If you don't, you can do it again in a week. If for some reason the rains keep coming after you spray, and we're in heavy rain, you could hit it again after it dries off.
And it's called Infuse.
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 Yeah, great for lawns.
Okay, great.
It's an all-purpose, but you don't want to use it on anything you eat because it's systemic. So
and
no tomatoes. Once it's dry, most every chemical we have, once it's dry, you're safe for kids and dogs to get onto the lawn.
Gotta always think of our pets.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Okay, I have this one question.
Yeah.
It's about arborvitaes,
yes.
and it's the green giant. What they did was they planted arborvitaes on their property, and it's the green giant arborvitae. And it seems to me that you planted about 6 to 8 of them or whatever.
Correct.
Half of them die, and she's wondering why does it keep doing this? Because this has happened a couple of times.
Right.
And she's wondering is it what? If you can't tell her what it is, who can she speak to? And do you think she might have to get something checked with her soil?
Okay, so arborvitaes can be touchy. We actually created a pamphlet on arborvitaes, which we have. I gave you one. I'll hold that up and show you. So we have a lot of people return arborvitaes. Okay, so when we talk all plants, we got to think of a few basic things. One, soil. We have horrible clay soils in our area, and most plants don't grow well in clay soils. So number one, before you plant anything, we want to amend the soil. I usually say a third clay, a third organic matter, and a third topsoil. Mix all that together. Prepare your whole bed first. If you can do that whole bed, everything's going to do better than if you just dig a hole twice as wide and mix that up. So if you can do a bed prep first, always spend the money there before you spend the money on the plants.
So a third, you said a third
your clay, third organic matter.
Okay.
We sell a product called One Step or mushroom compost.
All right, mushroom compost.
Mushroom compost.
Okay.
And then a third topsoil. Got to get some topsoil in there. But everybody wants to do topsoil. They forget about the organic matter.
Okay.
That's good for the worms and all the creatures in there to eat and do all sorts of good stuff. So organic matter is sometimes better than topsoil.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So that's number one problem is if we have a soil issue and we didn't amend the soil, it stays too wet. Okay, number two is water. All plants need water.
Right.
We as humans do a bad job of watering our plants.
Yes.
Okay, we go out there and water every day a little bit and we think we're done, and we can do one or two things. We can keep it too wet or we're not watering enough. So when we want to water thoroughly so the water gets in, goes down, so those roots follow that water. They're going to go in and follow down so we have a nice deep root system. When you go out and do a little bit of watering, I call that putzing. It's fun to putz in the garden. Putzing is fun in the garden, but with water that's not good. So you do shallow waterings, you keep the roots up high, you don't encourage a deep root system. That could be a problem there too.
But this summer, okay, if you're talking about watering, and I know in let's say August, it was warm, we had some hot weather, and I'm going to tell you
literally went into a drought over the summer.
And the ground was cracking. So as much as you would water it, and mind my putzing, but my putzing, I go out there every day because I'd water it, drench it, I'd leave, and before I knew it, my ground the next day, I'd go back out there and it was cracking. So sorry about my putzing.
If we got cracks, we got a lot of clay.
Okay.
Okay. So if I have a lot of clay, sometimes I will just take some organic matter, toss that down that thing, and as it breaks down may work in a little bit. But again, long thorough soakings before that crack happens will stop the crack. The problem is we had all that rain this spring. Everybody forgets when it stops raining that there's no more rain coming. So that's when things start drying out, the cracks start happening. If you would go through after, I usually wait 2 weeks, no rain, I start the water. Okay. That includes trees, established trees, shrubs, perennials. All that stuff is going to dry down, and there's only so much water down there once we go into drought that you got to keep that water going and be Mother Nature. And it's not necessarily weekly, but maybe every 2 weeks if you got an established tree or shrub, or slow soakings on the hose, lay the hose on a slow trickle.
Do you think that would be the best thing, is do a slow soak instead of...
Yeah. Okay. Sprinklers, slow soak with the hose.
Do they have hoses for that? Is that what you
if your tree is not too big, they have what we call gator bags, where you'll see them through municipalities where they put a bag around it. You fill it full of water. Another trick I was giving people for their fertilizing with those damaged trees this spring and bushes were get a 5-gallon bucket, poke a few little holes in the side like a small penny nail, fill it full of water and let it just slowly weep out of there, and then move that around your tree like north, south, east, west, and then you're going to do the same thing as a gator bag, and it'll get the water down, it'll go down, it won't go out. So the problem is we water and the water starts going like this because the ground's so dry it's not going down.
Okay,
so we just got to remember
it
slow soaking so the water goes down.
Right.
And just remember, July 4th, we usually go into drought.
Yeah.
So you got to pay attention then. Then once the rains come back, usually we're good for the fall.
Okay.
If we don't have rains, keep the water going because that can affect the plant going into dormancy and the change of colors and all that other fun stuff too.
Denise, yeah, you're right. We just got done talking about the tree bag, so great information. We'll be sure everybody should use it.
Yeah, problem is a really big plant. They don't make tree bags that big. It's more for the younger trees up to a certain diameter. So
now, what other reasons? So we talked about the soil.
Okay, so another problem on the arborvitaes is winter damage. So an arborvitae is an evergreen, and you have a chance every year to have an evergreen go bad over the winter.
Okay.
So as they're saying, unlike the deciduous trees that drop their leaves, they don't usually get that much damage over the winter because they don't have the leaves out there to get burned. So what happens with the evergreens is it gets cold and the ground freezes. There's still leaves out, and those leaves can still sweat because plants transpire like we do. Well, if the ground's frozen, they can't suck up the water. So they're going to get burned from either the wind or the sun. So what we like to tell people to do, and not necessarily on all evergreens, usually it's a broadleaf. We have a product called Wilt Stop from Bonine again. And what it does is it's like when we put on an anti-transpirant. It's an antiperspirant.
It's an antiperspirant for trees.
Yes. Your broadleaf evergreens, if you've had an issue with the arborvitaes or something else, you can spray it on them. The only thing I wouldn't put this on is anything like a blue spruce. This oil will get rid of your blue cast on those. So anything with a blue cast, I would not use this on. You can wrap the burlap or wrap the plants with burlap. It's not real pretty over the winter, but it could be the difference of saving it. And usually that's in a high traffic area. We can get some splashing or salt.
Okay, that's for the arborvitaes.
That's for well, that could be for boxwoods, for anything smaller and manageable.
Would you do
No. Rose of Sharon,
just leave those
again.
Okay.
Again, the polar vortex was crazy. It's supposed to be once every 100 years or so. We're not expecting that again for 100 years, or I'm not. Again, I'm not that old, but we're not expecting that to happen again.
Now, well, since you have your pulse on the weather, I know you're not the weather person, but you did say that you follow what the Arboretum says.
Well, the Arboretum was one I believe who coined the polar vortex.
Okay.
But now the Farmer's Almanac, I heard on the news, is saying we're going to have a polar roller coaster.
That sounds like fun.
So that can be, not so fun for the plants because what will happen is this is what happens. And again, we've had it before, so I'm not super worried about it. It just depends on how high and how low we go. Okay. I'm assuming that means, I didn't read into it, weather's going to spike. We're going to go up, we're going to go down. We're going to go up, we're going to go down, which is not good for a dormant plant. They want to be cold and just kind of sit and be there for the winter and hibernate, just like the critters. So if we do high, up and low spikes, there could be some damage. Again, what it's going to be, I don't know. So it's just kind of cross your fingers and hope. This is the first year we had a lot of damage. Like I said,
oh my God, everything was
25. Well, I've been here 25 years. I've been doing this most of my life, and I don't remember having this kind of problems before. So
I mean,
I'm going to blame it on the 100-year cycle, and it's not going to happen again for another 100 years.
Blame it on the cold. That's for sure. So.
Yeah.
Well, we wrapped up all the questions that we've had. Once again, I want to thank everybody who sent me any questions regarding their gardens or their lawns, and I'm hoping that if I read off all of the questions that were given to me, so I'm hoping that your questions got answered. I want to thank Mike again. Thank you
you're welcome.
So much.
I appreciate you coming out.
It's always fun coming out to Platt Hill Nursery. So, If you're ever in the area, please do stop by. They are getting ready for their fall season.
Oh, we have mums and pumpkins and corn stalks and straw bales.
So come on out here, over here in Bloomingdale, Illinois, to come out and get your autumn decor. And from what I understand, it's quite a festive place in the wintertime too.
Oh, yes.
Which we will probably have to check out. So if you're out and about, please come out to the Platt Hill Nursery. I want to thank again Mike for doing this. I will be having this posted on my business page. Plus also, I'm going to post it on YouTube too. So be sure to check out Dawn Block Realtor. Just check it out and you can replay this whole video again. Mike, if you would please, again,
sure,
give us your contact information, your address.
Definitely, and you reminded me that Platt Hill Nursery also has a YouTube channel, which has some valuable information on all sorts of things, so I encourage you to check that out. We do have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the other ones, I'm sure. I'm sure I missed them. Don't keep up with all of them. But again, Platt Hill Nursery, we got our beautiful website, platthillnursery.com. Certainly give us a call, 630-529-9394. I prefer calls and talking to people than emails, but I know some people like emails, which is fine. I get them. Oh no, their names are on them because I have to respond. But a lot of it's on availability, which can change from time to time. So it's always good to just pick up the phone. We're here to answer your calls. If you want to email us, again, you can just go to the website, do it, and it'll get directed to whomever needs to do it. And encourage you to stop out and have some fun.
Well, thank you guys again for taking the time to view this Facebook Live Q&A. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll have it posted out on my business page, YouTube, so that you can go back and review this. If you have any questions, again, give Mike a call.
Give us a call.
He'll be happy to help you out. I'll be working on possibly maybe in the wintertime we'll make another visit.
It's a beautiful Christmas here. I encourage everybody to stop by.
We've got to check that out. So
come in and see the mums. We got a few thousand mums out there that we grow.
So we'll make sure that we stop out in the wintertime to enjoy some of the festive holiday seasons and decor that they have here at Platt Hill Nursery. Thanks again for your time. You guys make it a great evening. I'm signing out. Bye-bye.
Bye.